Wilson wins Pocono and wins his way to the playoffs. Bobby Zelensky gonna double down in 2024. He goes back-to-back at the Chicago Street Course. He's headed back to the championship for Steven Wilson, winner at Texas Motor Speedway. Parker White wins at Phoenix and will fight for an eNASCAR championship in 2024.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
We're ready to sling some dirt for the granddaddy of them all. Welcome along for the 2024 iRacing Knoxville Nationals as iRacers from around the world hit the dirt and break out the wing sprint car. Glad we can have your company on the iRacing Esports Network here live on RaceSpotTV. My name is Arjuna Kangupati. Delighted to be joined alongside by my partner in crime, Joshua Lee. And Josh, oh, I'm excited about this one. The wing sprint cars, such a handful for the drivers, and we're about to see more than 50 of iRacing's best duel it out to be crowned the 2024 king.
NASCAR has Daytona, Formula One has Monaco, off-road racing has Crandon, and sprint cars has Knoxville. Everybody in the sim, yes, they're racing at the virtual Knoxville Raceway, but they want to join the likes of Steve Kinzer, Donnie Schatz, Kyle Larson to walk away with a win in Knoxville. And we end, I should say, the month of September in the iRacing special events calendar. Indy 6 Hour, Bristol 500 in the rear view mirror. Got some excitement coming up, as well as the fourth and final VCO Grand Slam of the season, but we get the dirt party started a little bit with the Knoxville Nationals and the Chili Bowl coming up in December.
And I'm hoping that, you know, all those sim races that have enjoyed the endurance racing and stuff that we've had for the majority of the first half of the year, they'll join us for some of the dirt events that we have. Let's not forget the Chili Bowl to close things out. What fun that always is to head inside to the Tulsa Expo Center and break out the midget with, of course, 14-second lap times and a car that sometimes literally drives on one wheel. A look at the format. Alphabet Soup going to kick off in a few moments' time. Qualifying has just begun. 3 minutes on the clock. Drivers have 2 laps, the track to themselves, and a track reset. Most importantly, it means that everyone's got a fairly even playing field to get underway to divvy themselves up into our 6 different heats. And ultimately, all you want to try and do, Josh, finish inside of the top 4 and avoid the E, D, C, and B main. 35 laps in the feature lie ahead.
You end up in that E main, it is going to be a marathon night. If anybody watching at home is familiar with rallycross racing or any other type of heat racing, you go into the consolation, the last chance qualifier, you qualify through that, then you're in the feature. No, not at Knoxville. If you're down in the E main, top 4, you advance to the D main, you kind of just get relieved a little bit. You're like, oh, we made it through one more. Then you got the D main, the C main, the B main, and if you make it all the way through to the A main from the E, you have done something right. But you can ignore the alphabet soup completely. Go get yourself a glass of water. Go take a break outside of your sim rig if you qualify in one of the 10-lap heats.
It's a long time to wait as well, so good thing they've got a quick warm-up just to jump back into the car and get a feeling for the surface and how it's changed since their respective heat race. Now, we've had 3 editions of this race going back to 2021, 3 different winners. Are we going to make it 4 and 4? The defending champion from the Super Session is Aiden Berline, but one thing to keep in mind is this is a Super Session, Josh, so there's been plenty of Knoxville Nationals racing action over the course of the week that's already happened. These are the drivers that have scored the most points, and there's 3 other splits below this that are going to be racing at the same time.
Arjuna, there has been over 200 iRacers that have gone racing this week in the Knoxville Nationals. I believe most of them going 4 splits, 5 splits per night, starting on Monday night, going all the way through to today's first Super Session, and now this one, the second and final Super Session of the weekend. Everybody wanting a piece of the pie when it comes to the sprint car capital of the world, and just like that, Arjuna, cars are taking to the grid. It's time to begin the journey that is the Knoxville Nationals.
So let's do it. Let's go trackside. Get ready for the granddaddy of them all in the 2022 iRacing Knoxville Nationals champs. Well, he's put it on pole and he's got a great position to make his life as easy as possible, go directly to the feature. He's alongside Peyton Burton with Chad Griggs and Noah Carpenter sharing row 2. Jacob Freeman going to represent some of the contingent from the other side of the world alongside of Carl Hubbard, and then Dustin Sargent, Larry Moody, Damon McDonald, and Jackson Bishop. We'll have 10 cars in this first heat. Now we'll have 6 heats, not all of them going to have 10 cars. We only have, I say only, in quotes, Josh, 57 cars in this split here today.
Like I said, everybody wanting a piece of the pie when it comes to the Knoxville Raceway, and we did split a considerable amount. I believe 4 or 5 splits tonight for the Super Session. Earlier today only had 2, so great to see all the racers that are coming out for this broadcasted Super Session split, and these are going to be the fastest drivers of the weekend. Now the Super Sessions are split, of course, like any other iRacing race, but if you go racing in official series, you're split by iRating. Here you're split by your accrued points for the week, so the more that you have raced, Gunnar Harris, I think, has gone racing in every single session that we have had so far this week. He is in this top split, much like the likes of the World Championship drivers that have gone racing this week, much like a lot of the other drivers who have been racing all week long. These Super Sessions, and especially this broadcasted top split Super Session, rewarding the drivers that race these cars all the time.
Now, we're not going to get a 4-wide flying formation to get things going, but just a reminder of how much... you wish. Just a reminder of how much power these cars have. I just saw Gunnar Harris lift the front end of his car behind the pace truck. Josh, this is going to be wild. No cautions, I think, as well in these heat races, right? So 10 laps in these respective races going to fly on past.
Don't believe we're going to see any yellow flags until we get into the E main, D main, C main, and B main. The feature will have cautions, but those caution laps are not going to count. Only green flag laps will count in the A main tonight.
Let's hope we get plenty of the green flag racing. Ready to go for the granddaddy of them all. Gunnar Harris looking to become the first 2-time champion in the Knoxville Nationals. And look at the launch that he's got as the sails clear into the opening corner. One car sails into the wall hard. Big contact as well. Wing goes flying. One more car goes up and over. Dramatic start, to say the least, to kick things off.
Kyle Hubbard is backwards in turn 1. Jackson Bishop almost went right over the catch fence, and we immediately have battles brewing around the cut line. 4th goes to Chad Griggs. Jacob Freeman, Larry Moody fighting for 5th right now. They're side by side right behind the number 41 who sits in the transfer.
And so, just always remember, if the leader gets a bit of a breakaway, seconds runs with him, focus becomes on 3rd and that transfer position. We keep our eyes, though, a little bit further back on those drivers trying to close their way on forward. Keep an eye on the track itself as well, because the one thing the iRacing track model does a great thing, Josh, of doing is slick up as the night goes on, and you'll see that visually in the dirt itself.
We had the reset going into qualifying, and then, of course, that carried over into this first heat, and you can already see the line starting to develop. The inside line is going to be very dominant as we begin these heats until it slicks over. Then you're going to see drivers start to move themselves up into the middle. Might even see a decent amount of drivers go up by the cushion. Knoxville not known for its cushion, really, until we get really late into the feature, and it kind of becomes survival, Arjuna. Finding wherever you can find the moisture and the grip to get these tires gripped up.
So, not being the most electric of races after that start, being somewhat settled behind Peyton Burton and Noah Carpenter, still waiting for Chad Griggs to try and push the pressure. But we're heading into those final couple of laps. 3 to go, and here he comes trying to close at the very tail end of the shot.
Peyton Burton still holds the transfer, and that is the car, the blue, yellow, and purple car right in the middle. But you can see the blue and yellow number 41 at Chad Griggs is trying to catch up. This is the stage where you got to try something different. You're not going to pass him if you're running in the same line. We saw it a lot. If you watched the NASCAR Xfinity Series earlier today at Kansas Speedway, the differing lines on asphalt, it is exactly the same on the dirt oval. It's white flag this time by Arjuna, and Griggs is going to need to try something different, throw the kitchen sink at this transfer.
Surely too far behind. Now you can move that wing around, but you can't really expect the driver in front of you to move. Noah Carpenter for second. Gunnar Harris is going to be well clear at the front as there's a very damaged race car down low. Drag race to the line. Peyton Burton settles for third, but that's something to keep an eye on. Low line reigns supreme in heat number 1. Is that going to be the case as we work our way through the rest of the night? Quick look at the results. Reminder, top 3 automatically advance to the main event. They'll be sitting around for quite a while. The rest of the drivers do have to sit around until they get into their respective consolation LCQ race. So the top 3 advance, rest of the drivers have some work to do. Let's see what the likes of Griggs and company can do. Quick look though at the starting grid in a few moments time for heat number 2. This is going to come at us fast and frenetic. No time for us to pause. Tanner Petit alongside of John Helms on the front row, Tracy Pedder and then Matthew Powell row 2 with Aiden Price, Cody Bodie sharing row number 3. Another 10-car heat with Craig Dunn and Robert Hirschberg alongside with Scott Withers and Alexander Miller rounding out the rest of the field. I called it out, Josh. The low line reigns supreme to kick the night off. Be very curious to see where it all progresses. These drivers, remember, open setups to try and dial in.
Eventually, I think we're going to see a lot of drivers move their way up towards the top of the racetrack. And I mentioned the multi-groove racing that we're used to seeing in the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series, and you're going to see it start to work its way through as the track glazes over. When going into turn number 1, right now that bottom lane still dominant. Same thing with turn 3. You can see in the middle all of the marbles that have been kicked up as the iRacing pace truck goes through it, starting to make a little bit of a tire track in there. Eventually, we're going to see the drivers start to use that lane. Eventually, we're going to see drivers start to go all the way up out towards the outside catch fence. Just a matter of time before we see all of those happen. But I think drivers need to start experimenting a little bit. We saw Chad Griggs just kind of stay in line and end up 4th. Doesn't make the feature. He's going to get a pretty good boost, I believe, qualifying for the B main or the C main. So he's going to have a little bit of an advantage going into the alphabet soup. But at the same time, you got to try something different. Run a different line. He had a lot of gap out back that he could try something different to maybe get that transfer. Just didn't see it. I think we need to see a little bit more experimentation from these drivers. And maybe they were watching that first heat, and maybe they're watching the broadcast. Maybe they're going to start to get a couple of ideas.
I think you're right about Griggs, who, because he finished first of those not to advance in the first heat, therefore gets the first quote-unquote qualifying position for the LCQs once we split them up. So might even lead us to the green for the very final of the alphabet soup before that main event. Didn't really see too much drama outside of the start. So punch the throttle. We go racing once more. Tanner Petit leads us into the opening corner. John Helms, Tracy Pedder, Matthew Powell. Bit of a switch around further back as drivers single file themselves out and run themselves back to the line.
And it's nobody ending up in the catch fence or ending up backwards in 1 and 2 this time, but we've already got the battle for the transfer. Powell on Pedder looking in turn 1. That iRacing painted number 23 is chasing down. The title is 31. Here he looks to the inside, gets him up out of the groove. We're already side by side for the transfer into lap 2.
Still no change inside of the front 4 though, so working to see if Matthew Howell can make a bit of a swing here. The dirt's going to start moving up the track, and the cushion therefore is going to move up as well. And maybe by the time we get to the final heat, you'll see a bit more comfort in ripping up high. On board with Powell though, you can see him migrating, see him looking, not working just yet.
He looks to the inside again, gotta be careful, they make contact, and up and out of the groove went the 23 of Matthew Powell, and he is now having a fight 4 wide, almost contact in turn 1. 2 drivers drivers end up into the catch fence. The 21 of Cody Bodie ends up the worst out of that mess. He's down into P10.
Bodied into the wall there, unfortunately, as we come to the end of lap 5, excuse me, officially halfway through. Sometimes the lap counter needs a second to flip its page. So the top two comfortable now. Are we going to actually see a fight between them? John Helms within a couple of car lengths. Matthew Powell looking behind him with the spotter telling him that Craig Dunn and Aiden Price are wheel to wheel.
They're wheel to wheel for the spot behind the transfer. This is what the number 23 wants to see out of his virtual rear view mirror. That number 12 of Dunn, Aiden Price behind, two drivers that are looking to advance their way right now into the alphabet soup. I think they're fighting a little bit too much amongst themselves, Arjuna, and there's that difference that I mentioned. The 12 went down to the inside, washed up in the middle. That's what you've got to try. It didn't make it work that much, but how about Arjuna in 1 and 2? They're already about halfway up the banking from where they were in the first heat.
So, love to see it, and now opens up the crossovers, and immediately, like you're saying, Matthew Powell loves to see it. Onto the final lap, slide job thrown, not going to stick for Craig Dunn and all, as once again, a flag-to-flag victory up front for Tanner Petit this time. He brings with him John Helms and Matthew Powell. Not going to see too much behind, I believe. What a way, though, to start seeing the migration as the sun continues to set. Josh, we're in for a treat, I think that's for sure, as we get to the end of the day. Quick look, though, at Heat 2 results.
Tanner Petit will move his way into the feature. John Helms, Matthew Powell, all going to be advancing on. Everybody else will have to get themselves sorted into the alphabet soup, Arjuna, as it's time for the grid for heat race number 3. Logan Rumsey filling out the start of 2 more World Championship drivers in Davies and Forster, 2nd and 3rd. Gaetano Papalarato going to be starting P4. Matthew Croak, Dave Hayes rounding out your top 6, and another 10-car grid here in heat race number 3. Scott Thomason, Ty Williams, Matthew Stables, and Zachary Chapman through the rest of this heat number 3 grid. But up front, Arjuna, Clayton Davies, Aiden Forster, 2 current World Championship competitors. Logan Rumsey, a driver who has been to the World Championship before in these 410 sprint cars. We have got feature-level talent here in Heat Race 3.
And so what's it going to mean down into turn number 1, right, for the first time? There's chances now for those behind to put themselves into the mix and disrupt the flow. If they're given a chance to break away, though, expect them to keep it nice and clean between the two of them. I tell you what, Josh, when it comes to the expectations of the lines now, 2 heats in, are we going to start seeing someone up to the wall, or this time by?
I don't know. The bottom lane hasn't glossed over yet. There's not a whole lot of rubber being laid down. It's not drying out too much. That being said, it is drying out. A lot of those moves that were being made, especially for the transfer in that last heat, we saw a lot of drivers go down to the bottom, kind of get on right on that apron, and they ended up washing up the track. I think that might have scared a couple of these drivers in that last heat to start moving up the racetrack, but nothing's glossed over. No blue groove yet, so I think we're going to see either drivers try and stick it back to the bottom, maybe some drivers try and stick it in the middle, or a combination of everything. We might be seeing a lot of experimentation in this heat because the track has finally started to get its normal wear in. I feel like we're at about a baseline right now.
And so one more heat with 10 cars. Let's go and punch the throttle. Logan Rumsey early jump leaves the field behind to squabble for 2 trials of spots. And so Clayton Davies, Aiden Forster swap around initially. And now as the lines start to develop and move around, it's a chance for Papalarato and Croker to try and join. 1 car flips over. We come back to see the line.
Dave Hayes, the one flipping in 3 and 4, but as the battle for second goes on, I feel like I'm watching an episode of the World of Outlaws Thrustmaster Sprint Car Series powered by iRacing, because Aiden Forster, car number 1, that white and green painted car in 2nd place, leads Clayton Davies, the white and blue number 2 for the transfer, but here comes Papalarato to the bottom lane, trying to go for the move in 3. Can he wash it up? He gets loose on the inside. There's that lack of grip, that lack of moisture we were talking about, Arjuna. He has to settle for 4th into 1.
But finally starting to see some slide jobs. A bit too much of a slide job there from Ty Williams as Matthew Croak. A little bit of contact there, but they both hold on to it. Remember, 3 cars to advance. Logan Rumsey by no means has checked away with this one, and we're almost all the way up to the wall. Give it maybe a heat or 2 more, Josh, and we are going to start seeing some drivers ripping up high.
Ripping the cushion is one of the most fun things I think you can do in the iRacing sim. It's planting that right rear tire. It's almost not looking at the windshield. It's looking at the right side of the car to make sure that you are just inches away from the wall as we go on board with Matthew Croak, sitting P5 right now. But there's the differentiation in line. The top two, Aiden Forster and Clayton Davies, came into the corner, came into turn 3 up top. They did it again. They go down to the bottom to get a better run off the corner, and it's working. They pull away from Poplarato, who sits 4th now in the battle, and contact with Croak off 4.
Oh, just holds on once more. That was right at the line, winding away on those laps. 3 to go. Slide job attempted from Ty Williams. It's exactly what Clayton Davies, Aiden Forster want to see. They don't really need to fight. They need to see the contact behind. 2 to go at the line. There goes Ty Williams around into the, turn number 1.
Seeing contact and seeing a lot of it. Matthew Stables also had an incident. He is in the pit lane. They'll all be going to the alphabet soup in the bottom 3. White flag this time by the stripe for Logan Rumsey, who leads the way. Aiden Forster, Clayton Davies in 2nd and 3rd. It's an all-world championship top 3, and these are 3 drivers that are going to be threats when it comes to the feature race, Arjuna.
Another flag-to-flag victory, but finally a little bit more action, a bit more intensity. Sun continues to set. Tempo continues to rise. Another heat in the books. Fast-flowing action. Not going to stop here on the iRacing Esports Network. Look at heat number 3 results.
Those top 3, again, advance their way into the feature. Rumsey, Forster, Davies, everybody else will sit their way into the alphabet soup. But as we get ready for heat race number 4, it is more world championship caliber drivers up front. How about Kenny Hoffman, who will line up inside of row 1 in that number 5 machine. Aiden Bierlein, a former champion of the Knoxville Nationals here on iRacing, starts to the outside of that front row. Chase Stewart, Matthew Gowans on row 2. Ashton Mueller, Jeff Kremer going to be rounding out the top 6 starters, and only 9 going here in heat race number 4. Miles Jansen, Lachlan Mead, Andrew Stables going to line up in 7th, 8th, and 9th on the grid for heat race number 4. And we're over halfway done with these heats now, Arjuna. Another 10 laps on the docket, and I don't think we've seen yet the surprise of the heat race. All 3 of the drivers that we thought would advance from that last heat did. We haven't seen a whole lot of battles around the transfer spot either. Think we're going to reach a crescendo here soon. Admittedly, we're always going to see more battles for the transfer in the consolation. I think drivers are a little bit hungrier for it when it comes to those consolation races in the alphabet soup. But I think we're going to see a little bit of aggression just start to ramp its way up. I think the flame is going to start to ignite a little bit here as we exit halfway of the heats and have still 3 more left before we begin the alphabet soup.
I think one thing I can probably guarantee you, though, Aiden Bierlein's going to make the right choice. Defending champion, finished 4th in the 2021 edition of the race, 2nd in 2022. When you're able to be that consistent in a race as wild as this, Josh, it tells you a lot about not just the speed, the decision-making as well.
Well, the speed influences your decision making. I mean, these 410 sprint cars have 410 horsepower, and they weigh probably less than your car sitting in your driveway right now if you took it in half. I mean, these things weigh almost nothing, got way more downforce than they know what to do with, way more side force than they know what to do with, and you're gonna go race it around a track that is under a mile long. Go. I mean, you need to make decisions in a split second. In a split second, you could go from leading the race to in the wall and out of the race. And it's true in the real world, and it's true in the sim as well. You have to be as quick as your race car making decisions in these races.
Right, ready to go for the back half of the heat. Kenny Hoffman once again, decent jump. Squabble's going to be a bit more behind as the defending champ slots into 2nd. Back underway for heat 4 in the 2024 iRacing Knoxville Nationals. And look at the field, bit of contact behind, but able to hold on as they wibble wobble into turn 3. That was a good save from Ashton Mueller. But here comes the pressure. Aiden Bierlein, what's he going to do for trying to maybe initially challenge for the lead as he throws it to the inside?
He does challenge off 2 as we've got Ashton Mueller flipping in the background. He will take the lead. Aiden Bierlein to the front. Kenny Hoffman to 2nd place, now trying to get back up on the top side. Bierlein gonna follow. You can see immediately that change in lanes once Kenny Hoffman saw what race leader Aiden Bierlein was going to do. If he's running there, try something different. You're not gonna pass him running the same line.
Oof. And that's another big hit, and then I think collected as well. And a caution comes out. So an incident big enough that for the first time today will slow things down and get a restart, single file restart as well, potentially. I'm not sure exactly how things are configured. I was under the impression, Josh, we wouldn't see the caution until we got to the feature.
Well, we see a full course yellow. That was for Jeff Kremer, who ended up flipping down the front straightaway in that hard hit that we saw. Here's the replay of it, and there's the wheel-to-wheel contact. There's the hard hit, and he's going to get another hard hit there, and just be flipping down the front straightaway. I think it's a good call from the at least virtual iRacing officials to get that full course yellow in there, but it was a very hard hit. Glad we're in the virtual world for Jeff Kremer, but that brings up an interesting topic I wanted to touch on real quick, Arjuna, before we quickly end up going back to green, is that these cars are open wheel, like we see in Indy cars, like we see in Formula One cars. They are open wheel. It's the same exact concept of wheel-to-wheel contact. It is the no contact in any open wheel motorsport. This is no different. There's that wheel-to-wheel contact. It was the right rear, or the right rear tire of the car in front of him. I believe it was Lachlan Mead. It was either Mead or Jansen in front of him to the left front tire of Jeff Kremer, and it does exactly what it does in any Formula car or any open wheel car that you watch. It is just gonna send the car in any direction that it does not want to go. So that is something that these drivers need to look out for. Late models, not so much. They're a lot like short track stock cars. They can beat up all on each other. These things cannot.
And so, just a confirmation as well, caution laps not counting. We're going to get plenty of laps back underway as the lights drop off the pace car. We're ready to stack them up once more. This is the chance, right? This is the chance for Kenny Hoffman to get the lead back from Aidan Beerline. He's got to be aggressive, though. We know Beerline has been looking in the mirror. He's figuring out how to block off and cover off any attack.
He's been doing a good job of it, but I think Kenny Hoffman's been doing a little bit of a better job on offense. He's doing exactly what he needs to do. Whatever line Beerline's running, try something different. If he enters high, he ends up low by the end of the corner. He's trying the different things that you need to try. Space car is back in, and we're back underway.
That's an early jump as well from Aidan Beerline. Let's jump on board with Chase Stewart, get an idea of what it's like now. In the sim, the drivers do have the ability to take a tear off. We don't get the option from our spectator cameras as they arrive. So, hunting down that chance to spot. Matthew Gowans sits right there. 5 to go at the line.
Just look at the handwork from Chase Stewart as we're on board with him right now. You'd think there's a ton of counter steer. You think they're going to see nothing but counter steer. It's almost the opposite. He is using a lot of throttle control, a lot of pedal control to get that car turning through the corner, utilizing the banking, utilizing the high line to get that car to turn. We've got a battle for second, then it's going to quickly turn into a battle for the transfer. Chase Stewart ends up hitting him for the back bumper of the transfer. Stewart falls, Gowans falls, Mead into the transfer spot of third.
And how quickly things can change in these sort of races. You just don't have time to react, right, to incidents in front, and so 3 cars now sit in pit lane, and as quickly as we had a battle, it suddenly evaporated as well. And something just to keep in mind, Aidan Beerline has really pulled away from Kenny Hoffman as a result of that little bit of a moment that they had as well. Heading on to the final lap though, Josh, we've got 2 more heats to go. The caliber of driver that's already heading to the main event, it's super stacked.
Beerline fast, Hoffman fast. You might as well just tell me water is wet, Arjuna, next.
Absolutely. Come out of the final corner for Aidan Beerline, defending champion here in the iRacing Knoxville Nationals. He's got some work to do. He'll start 4th in the main event. He brings with him, though, Kenny Hoffman and Lachlan Mead. We'll unfortunately have to see some work for the likes of Matthew Gowans and company. It's a bit of a spin to close off the session for these drivers. Just a quick look at results and the margin growing in the closing stages between Gowans and Mead up the road, with Jansen, Stables, and then 3 drivers sitting in pit lane going to the LCQs. Right, 2 more heats to go. Let's take a look at the starting grid for heat number 5. Cameron Pritchard's alongside of JD Brown on the front row with Jesse Dorcas, and then Connor Dudek sharing row 2. Spencer Putney and Cody Hillman line up alongside one another on row 3 with Ryan Pradgett and then Dean Reynolds 7th and 8th. Ricky Thompson all by himself on the 5th and final row of the starting grid. This still a pretty strong field, but one thing that, you know, if you care about iRatings, Cameron Pritchard 2,841 iRating rather. JD Brown, 7,400. Just goes to show iRating is not everything.
Especially here at Knoxville. I mean, the times in qualifying, I think, were insanely close. I mean, the fastest in qualifying, Gunnar Harris, 14.4. Slowest in qualifying, Zachary Chapman, 14.8. I mean, where else are you going to see 4/10 separating the entire field? That is, what, 58 cars, 57 cars separated by 4/10? Literally, it was less than 4/10.
Oh. And that's basically, you have a slight overcorrection or you don't react in time to something and you lose, what, 3-4 positions at best?
It is the slightest overcorrection, or the slightest, you lifted off the gas slightly too much. I mean, that is how close these times were.
It just goes to show, again, the margins that all of these drivers are dealing with. Lights are off on the pace truck. We're ready to go. Remember, we've got 2 more heats left on tap. And this one, another 10 laps of racing. Just had our first caution. Not exactly sure if these drivers were watching and took their cues from that. Punch the throttle. Let's go racing once more here from the sprint car capital of the world. And while there's a couple of stragglers further behind, instantly on offense is Connor Dudek. He'll switch down low, try and put the pressure on Jesse Dorcas, but loses momentum down the back straightaway and now gets the pressure coming from behind.
Needs to keep the pressure going if he wants to advance automatically into the feature. That's the battle for third between Dacus and Dudek right now. But the side-by-side battle a little bit further back has now resolved itself into single file. Padgett and Reynolds go battling for 7th, but the transfer is where the focus is. And even for the race lead, JD Brown has been trying to put some shots onto the back bumper. Cameron Pritchard hasn't done anything yet, and Dacus is now looking for 2nd place.
And so a chance for maybe us to start seeing a bit more of those lines moving around. You can definitely see the track is slicked on up, and that 3rd place car looking very, very uncomfortable as it migrates up high, and a great slide job there from Connor Dudek. Job's not completely done though as they rumble to turn 3 once more. Exactly what Cameron Pritchard and JD Brown want to see though. The side-by-side for 3rd starting to cost them some time.
The slide job again from the 15, but back to the bottom goes Dacus, looking for the spot again. It's the yellow and silver number 32 versus the black and red number 24 for the transfer, or the number 15 for the transfer. And sliders galore, another one sent in one. How about another crossover? And how about a 3rd driver being added into this one? That's Jesse Dacus going for the transfer now. Cody Hillman joins the fight.
And so all this unfolds as we start to head into the final laps of this heat, and so you have to assume these drivers know that cutoff line exists. They're going to start to be that much more aggressive. 3 laps to go next time by. Big send by Dacus in that 32. You can tell that he's the one that's the most willing to send the car deep into the corner. Not when they're just battling wheel to wheel, but when he's trying to make the car turn as well. Seems to be quite comfortable with it. 2 laps to go this time by.
Well, he's also been trying lanes that nobody else has been trying. I mean, he's running up by the cushion now. Let's see what the 15 is going to try and do from 4th. Doesn't do anything. Runs that same line. Hillman tries a slider. Doesn't get close enough to get side-by-side in 1 and 2. Nothing for the lead yet. JD Brown still on the back wing of Cameron Pritchard, but white flag is out. This is the final opportunity for Dudek to qualify for the feature race. Into turn 1, nothing. What does he do in 3? He hits the wall going down the back straightaway.
You can tell they're going to have some big sends, but as they run to the line, there won't be a change. It's as they qualified inside of the front 4, and 1 more heat to go. Have not seen that much change from qualifying, all things considered. Was it just the best drivers qualified up front? Or has the track just not necessarily been conducive to racing? A quick look at the results, and great to see all 9 drivers on the lead lap as well. But remember, 3 move forward directly to the feature. Everyone else has got to battle for their chance to make it into those final 2 spots from the B main. Final heat on tap, though, for us. The sixth and final of our heat. It's Bowen Smith alongside of Tyler Schell on the front row. Schell, of course, the winner of the 2021 iRacing Knoxville Nationals, with Darcy Walker, Ayrton Smith, and then Jesse DeRosia and Blaine Baxter, your front six. Seventh goes the way of Jonathan Dolly. He's got Keith Dyke alongside with Dakota Osborne at the very back of the starting grid. And so we've now seen all 57 of our competitors. All our drivers have hit the track at least once tonight. Let's see who are the final three drivers, Josh, that will have a chance to kick their feet up, relax, and watch the madness that's about to ensue after this heat finishes up.
And it is going to be a good bit of madness. If you are here looking for aggression, if you are here looking for the drama, it's all going to begin when we get into that alphabet soup. But one final heat, you getting ready to go green. And these are the drivers that now, Tyler Schell, World Championship driver outside of the front row. He wants nothing more than to qualify into the feature, but we haven't seen that big moment yet of these heats. I don't know at this point, honestly, Arjun, if we're going to see that moment. If Tyler Schell ends up into the wall, then we've got our moment. But these fast drivers have been exactly that. They've been fast, they've been consistent, they know how to race this racetrack, and they haven't really put a foot wrong. Haven't seen a lot of mistakes from the fast drivers, which is honestly why a lot of the drivers that were fast in qualifying are already having that glass of water sitting outside of their sim rig waiting for the feature race to get called.
And the great thing about these special events that encourages you to try everything iRacing has to offer. These wing sprint cars are so much fun. Let's go racing for one final heat. And so the battle for the top three going to be one to watch. Already seeing Smith and Walker duke it out into the opening corner. Just about avoid making contact. Tyler Schell makes his move on Bowen Smith as well. So we've got some battles up towards the front. We've got some battles behind as well. Oh, we're in for a treat, Josh, to close out the heats.
This battle for the lead is going to continue to brew as Schell goes back to the bottom with the crossover move, trying to fight off that slider. But now for the transfer spot, Ayrton Smith trying to pull away in that third spot. Darcy Walker trying to pull away from the battle for fifth behind them. But Schell back to the bottom in one, back into a slider, back to the race lead goes the World Championship driver.
And this is the type of racing we're expecting by the time we get to the very end of the night on our way to see the checkered flag for this great event. Love to see, by the way, confidence to try and use this race as a chance to do some testing if you're Bowen Smith. May not have got exactly what he wanted initially through 1 and 2, but I think 3 and 4 works a little bit better. Schell, several car lengths clear, though, as we head on to the 5th lap of 10.
Almost halfway done with the final heat of the night, and the battle for the transfer is not solved yet. He's gonna get held up and he's gonna get turned. Bowen Smith turned and around in turn 3, and the yellow flag comes out, and from second place in a battle with Ayrton Smith, he is now going to be in the alphabet soup. There was the drama that we were waiting for, Arjuna. Took us 6 heats to get there, but we got there in turn 3.
And wow, that really now I think is going to stack things up for second and third as well once we get this restart synced up. So pace truck back out there, give it a couple of laps that will not count on the board, and we'll have 5 when we go racing once more. Tyler Schell, Ayrton Smith, and Darcy Walker in this current transfer spot, sawing at the wheel. Here's the replay.
I honestly am not even sure if that was Bowen Smith trying to block the run that was inevitably coming from the 13, or if that was the 13 expecting that the 18 machine would go into a different line. I mean, it's entirely possible that Ayrton Smith was in that battle watching Bowen Smith in front and maybe saying to himself, he's up high, he's running up towards the cushion, maybe he's gonna do that again in 3. Just happened that Bowen Smith didn't. I don't think Ayrton Smith was looking to make contact. I don't think Ayrton Smith was intending on making contact. I'm not even entirely sure it was a mistake on either party. This might just be a racing incident, because the 18 did come down, but he was going to run that line, though.
I feel as though Smith's just struggling a little bit. Maybe the experimentation I was speculating about was just car starting to move away from the balance that he wanted. Got to keep on top of it. Let's not forget that wing. It adds a lot of downforce, but if it's sending the air pressure, or however best to describe it, in the wrong place, very quickly goes from adding downforce to adding terror into your life. I think we're going to see pace truck off and away though. So Tyler Shell back in control, single file restart, and look at the margin he opens up as he punches the throttle. Jesse DeRozier though now looking up to the high line, putting the pressure onto Darcy Walker, cutting back down low. Remember, 5 laps to go on this restart.
And very quickly, those laps are going to start to tick their way down. Battle for the transfers between Darcy Walker and Jesse DeRosa into turn 1. Not going to make anything happen yet, but the 28 is starting to think about it. It's 22 versus 28. It's green and red versus black and red as they exit turn 4. 3 laps to go in heat 6.
And so, I think at this point, already stretched clear is Tyler Shell. Final 2 transfer spots up for grabs. If Darcy Walker and Ayrton Smith start to fight, Jesse DeRozier is there to try and pounce. Big send from Blaine Baxter. Oh, and he rides the wall. Are we going to get a caution? Will he keep it clean? He's parked in the middle of the track, somehow getting ready to see the white flag.
That was literally riding the wall. That was about as literal as you could take that sentence. And the battle for second place is on. Darcy Walker 1 second because Jesse DeRosia is nowhere to be found at the rearview mirror. Actually, I said that too early. There they are, now trying to look for a spot in the top 3, but I think it's going to be too little too late unless we see a mistake from these top 2 coming to the checkered flag. It's all Tyler Shell at the front.
And so another defending champion advances on forward. Ayrton Smith and Darcy Walker split by 1/10 of a second at the line, but they both advance and with a margin to those behind. So we're done with the heats. So the likes of DeRozier, Osborne, Baxter, Dolly, and then Heath Dyke and Bowen Smith, unfortunately, have got some work to do. And so don't blink, don't go anywhere. The sun's going to drop a little bit more on the horizon. We're going to spool forward time and group up the first drivers in what is the E main. So 10 laps for them. Jeff Kramer, Dean Reynolds front row, Heath Dyke, Carl Hubbard behind them with Alexander Miller, and then Matthew Stables sharing row number 3. Ashton Mealer, Ricky Thompson, Bowen Smith, Jackson Bishop, Cody Bodie, and then Dave Hayes, the rest of the top 12. And a few more cars thrown onto the grid, Josh.
Couple more cars and a couple more laps coming up as well. This E main will be the same amount of laps as the heats, 10 laps, but once we go into the D, it ramps up to 12. Once we go into the C, it ramps up to 14. Once we go into the B, it ramps up to 16. And then, of course, that feature race, that A main, going to be 35 laps on the night. But we mentioned earlier how they set up these alphabet soup races. This E main is, without lack of a better term, is the slowest of the drivers. It is the drivers that got caught up in wrecks. It's the drivers that made mistakes through the heat races. The top 4 from this E main, they're not going to advance right into the feature to build that grid. No, no, no. They're going to advance into the D main, the next consolation race. From the D, you advance to the C. From the C, you advance to the B. From the B, you can then advance into the A main, the feature race tonight. But oh, by the way, Arjuna, if that wasn't difficult enough, the top 4 finishers here in the E main are going to be the final 4 on the grid for the D main. They got to fight in this main, then they got to fight from the back of the field in the next, and if they keep advancing, it's from the back, the back, the back, and the back to try and make it into the A main out of this E main.
And that's what made the 1990 Nationals so significant when Doug Wolfgang went from the D main to finish 5th in the A main. We're not even talking about him winning the event, right? It's just the fact that you have to fight your way so many positions forward. It's truly an international event, so many entrants as well. And we've had, again, just a reminder, over a couple of hundred drivers have their own Knoxville National experience over the course of the week. 4 Nationals happening right now across multiple splits. Ready to go. Let's find out which 4 drivers will move on forward. 4 drivers at the back, not going anywhere, though, as Jeff Kramer leads them down the back straightaway. Here comes a bit of pressure. Side by side in the fight for second, side by side in the fight for 4th.
We're not taking 3, we're taking 4, and top 4 trying to pull away as it is a bit of a hornet's nest, or was, through 3 and 4 that last time by from 5th on back. Heath Dyke in 4th now, side by side with the moment, but remember how quickly Bowen Smith was in his heat race. He got caught up in an incident, no fault of himself or the driver behind him. He's lurking P5 to try and qualify his way into the E main.
That's going to be a task, but you definitely know he's got the speed based on qualifying. He's going to try and send Matthew Stables out a little bit wide as Heath Dyke as well in that battle. There's a bit more contact. Not the first time Heath Dyke's been involved in some drama, but Bowen Smith's mixed up as well. Caution flies in the E-main.
Bowen Smith mixed up. I don't think he got any damage from that one. We'll see the replay in a moment, but it is the drama that we mentioned as well in the consolation. Contact again, and it looked like another instance. I don't want to say a slider gone wrong. I think this one was more blame on Bowen Smith than Heath Dyke. Here's the replay into one. He went down to the bottom. I don't know if he was fully going for a slider. It was going to be a pretty bold slider because Dyke was running the middle line, and he had the 23 close in front of him, so he couldn't really get that much ahead of the 36. I don't know about Bowen Smith's choice on that one. There really wasn't room for a slider. It's entirely possible he was trying to stay on the inside and got into that blue groove down there, and the car went straight. That's unfortunate for Heath Dyke. Another big hit that we're used to seeing in these 410s, and another time that we're lucky we're talking about virtual race cars and not real world race cars.
It's been a few big hits, but yeah, no, the when these cars crash, it's not an if, it's a when. They are big ones, but they are quite safe at the end of the day as well. Always quite amazing to see the rollovers and the amount of G-forces loaded onto the chassis and sometimes towards the driver, but able to sometimes step out with very little in terms of damage. So 6 laps to go once we get this E-main underway, and this onboard perspective really does show how slick the track has gotten, Josh. It's all moved around, and that's why we've seen the drivers move around as well.
You can see going into turn number 1 here, just the amount of blue groove that is all on this racetrack now. That entire bottom lane of turn 1 and 2 has slicked over. Looks like the middle line of turn 2 has slicked over, and then you get a little bit more slicking over as you go down to the bottom of the racetrack as well, pretty much in both corners. So right now, it's not as worn as we're going to see in the feature. We're going to see it pretty much wall-to-wall blue groove by the end of the feature race, and maybe even by the end of the alphabet soup. But there still is some moisture out there to be found, and I think these drivers are going to need to find it. Bowen Smith is now inside the transfer as we go back to green, but he's got Matthew Stables, who we were just on board with, behind, trying to chase him down.
So let's go figure out what's going to happen here as instantly single file and everyone up towards the wall. Again, top 4 have to start at the back of the next consolation race. There's a long way for them to go, but if you don't advance from here, that's it. Your night's done. You're watching from the sidelines. That's a big old send from Bowen Smith as he rips the top, jinks down low, and makes the move on Kyle Hubbard.
Smith goes to 3rd. Hubbard now on the bubble. Stables not catching as quickly as he needs to. Over halfway through with the E-main. There's the cushion from Bowen Smith, and there's the runoff too. There's the move to the bottom for 3rd. Bowen Smith with a slider pushes Dean Reynolds to the cushion. We're still side by side as they go back to 1.
Oh, there's a bit more risk maybe being thrown here than some would want. It's allowed Kramer to run away, and this is a great shot to show exactly where drivers go in these battles, trying to find a little speed, find a little bit of air to try and find their way forward. 2 laps to go. Jeff Kramer's clear at the front. Bowen Smith, though, rocking and rolling up high.
That is the cushion doing its work. You almost want the cushion to turn the car for you. That's how you know if you're running the cushion right, if you don't even need to really turn that much. Here's the battle for the transfer. Slider from Stables on the final lap. Can't get in front of Hubbard. They were side by side in 2. Do they become side by side in 3? Defensive line from Hubbard. It's not going to be enough from Stables. Hubbard, Reynolds, Smith, Kremer go through into the D-main.
And so that's one of the consolation races done. We've still got 3 more of them to go. A long way for us to run as we take a look at the results.
Kremer, Smith, Reynolds, and Hubbard, they can breathe a sigh of relief. Their sigh of relief is now done because the gridding has started for the D main. We up the lap count from 10 to 12. We also up the field count from 12 to 13. Damon McDonald's going to be on the pole for the D main. Tracy Petter to his outside. Zachary Chapman, Chase Stewart on row 2. Ryan Paget, Jonathan Dawley going to be rounding out the top 6. Dustin Sargent, Robert Hirschbach going to be on the 4th row. Ty Williams starts 9th, and now we get to the 10 drivers who just fought their way across 10 laps in that E main. Kremer, Smith, Reynolds through to the top 12, and 13th goes to Kyle Hubbard, who just barely advanced. So now they just advanced from the E main. Oh guys, congratulations, you advance onto the D main. You know where you're starting, the last 4 spots on the grid. Unfortunately, they just fought, might have felt like a win, a victory in the moment. It's right back to reality, Arjuna, starting at the tail end of this grid.
I love how you say it, back to reality, the hard grind that these races can be. But cautions are very much at play at the end of the day, Josh, with this sort of frenetic racing. You and I, you know, we've commentated on our fair share of Rallycross Off-Road Championship racing as well here on the iRacing Esports Network together. But the thing that we know in these LCQs, desperation, that's the one word that springs to drivers' minds.
Especially these drivers at the back. I mean, how does Kremer, I mentioned Kremer, Smith, Reynolds, and Hubbard kind of getting a sigh of relief and then immediately kind of being pulled back and having to take the grid again for the D main. Still having 3 more mains in the alphabet soup until they can reach the feature, even if they qualify for those. How desperate do you think they're gonna be? I mean, they're starting at the back of this field. They made it through 1. They want to go all the way and make it to the feature. How desperate will they be to make moves all the way up through the field? The highest ranked driver from the E-main right now is 10th. Kremer's got to pass 9 drivers before he is in the transfer positions.
And let's see if he's going to be able to do it. A bit more of a long hold here from your pole sitter as Damon McDonald finally gets the field underway. Slow start from some behind, but no stack up like we had in the previous race. Immediately ripping the wall, though, in a couple of cases, and rocketing to third goes Chase Stewart. He battled with Zachary Chapman. You've got Ryan Paget behind. Run back to the line. Lap 1 in the books.
Side by side for the 4th spot in the transfer. The 56 runs the cushion. The move to the bottom from Chapman, trying to take it, can't take it. Paget in the transfer now as Dolly and Chapman go up and over. Collects Williams, collects Bowen Smith, and it will be enough for a yellow flag here in the D main. Bowen Smith again flips into the wall, again loses the top wing. And that's going to be the end of the run from Bowen Smith.
Took a while for that caution to come out, though, if we're being honest. So I thought for a second we might get away without that interruption. Again, a reminder as well, if you're just joining us, these races get longer as we work through the consolations. I mean, not much that Chapman could really do in that situation. Bit of a wrecking ball in that situation. At least he had company in going up and over a couple of times.
That's the 410 sprint car going on full display in that wreck, Arjuna. He came off of turn 2. I mean, was wrestling that thing. I mean, he was trying all his might to keep it straight. It couldn't. It was too much horsepower on those back wheels. He gets slightly sideways, brushes off a slight bit of speed. Car right behind him. Contact made. And I mentioned open wheel race cars like you would see in IndyCar, like you would see in Formula 1. Same thing with these 410 sprint cars, and they just love to collect each other. One slight wheel tap, you're in the wreck. Here's the onboard as well as we go onboard with Ty Williams, who saw a lot happening in front of him and then ended up with absolutely nowhere to go. The brakes don't really work on these cars, by the way, as well. If they weren't tough enough already, you hit the brakes, you're going to be in the wreck.
That was, for a second I thought he was going to get through there with the grace of the iRacing gods, but unfortunately I didn't smile on him for that much longer. Got tangled up with it eventually. So 10 laps to go once we get back underway. Damon McDonald did hold the field for a little bit longer on that initial start. There'll be single file as we get ready to go this time by. So Ty Williams, Bowen Smith, their journey is officially done and dusted. And for Bowen Smith, remember, started on the front row of Heat 6. It goes to show just how difficult these races can truly be. Zachary Chapman is also not going to move forward anymore, so 3 not going to play any further part as back underway. Green flag flies. Damon McDonald gets a great jump.
Going on board with Jeff Kremer, one of those drivers that advanced in from the E main. Does he have enough to advance into the C main out of this D consolation race? He rips the cushion, tries to look to the outside of the 57 of Birchbach. Can't do it. He goes up top again, rips the cushion again. Loose driver in front of him. Kremer to 5th into turn 3. He's not within the transfers, but he has got a shot at this.
It's what you love to see, the aggression. Paying dividends as well when you make the moves at the right time. So he goes from potentially an E main into a D main transfer spot. He's going to need some work though, need some help from a slip up in front as we come back towards the line. McDonald about half a second clear, starting to stretch his legs and leaving those behind to squabble. Now contact made into the wall. One car's up and over, surely the caution's going to fly.
It does, right at halfway, and right as I think Kremer advances into the transfer as well. Some bouncing off of each other for second place. He kept it straight as they all got slowed down to pace car speed. It looked like almost two incidents. There's the 45 of Dustin Sargent. Two incidents that were pretty much the same. I mean, that was an instance there from Dustin Sargent of getting too far up the cushion. We mentioned the cushion all night. It is that pack of dirt that goes right up against that outside wall. You want to put your right rear tire right on that pack of dirt. Almost helps to turn the car around these corners. You can slingshot in and out of these corners, and that is going to become the fastest line once we get into the feature race later on tonight. But you can fly too close to the sun. Sargent got on top of the cushion, on top of that packet of dirt. You get on top of it, it wants to suck you into the wall. Does not want to spit you back out into the racetrack. It will put you into the catch fence. And that is what we saw from Sargent, and I believe from Ty Williams, who was also caught up in that incident. Or that might have been Dean Reynolds that also ended up going into the wall. Didn't go up and flipping, but did end up in the wall. Jonathan Dolly, I believe, actually, because he is in the pit lane to get damage repaired. But either way, that is flying too close to the sun. Can happen around the Knoxville Raceway, and we did just see it.
Right. I think these next 6 laps are going to be quite interesting, given that we now knocked a couple more drivers out of contention and we're starting to whittle things down. Is Damon McDonald going to have his same opportunity to break away at the front of the field? Tracy Pedder, Chase Stewart, and don't forget, Jeff Kramer's in the mix still once again.
Kremer has a very real shot at going through into the C main. Will he do it is the big question. McDonald's been commanding this race. Pedder's been commanding second place. Chase Stewart has had his fair share of passing for third, but still sits third. Paget sits fourth. Kremer right behind these guys has a shot to get by him. He's been making that cushion work for him.
Here we go once more. 6 laps in this D main. 6 more laps for some of these drivers in their 2024 Knoxville Nationals. This final super session sees the green flag drop once again. Whoa. Chase Stewart, for a moment, I thought was going to hit the wall and ride the wall just a little bit, but look further behind. Jeff Kramer, bit of pressure as he tries to close back up to the transfer spots, the top 4.
Tries to close up, can't do anything. That first pass of the stripe, 4 to go as they come to the line. Battle for second is on. Chase Stewart in that all black number 11 peers down to the inside. Tracy Pedder in the white, black, and red number 31 rips the cushion. Slide job, contact again, pushing the number 31 or the number 11 into the wall. Goes Ryan Paget. Kremer to fourth, but Chase Stewart from transfer to going to the garage area at the end of this run.
How quickly things can change, and keep an eye on Kyle Hubbard. He could be another one to slowly bring himself into contention. Yes, I know there's only 2 laps to go at the line, but in contention to moving from the E main to the C main. Still some work to do after that though, as we work our way back around to the line. Damon McDonald looking comfortable. Ryan Paget all over the back of Tracy Pedder.
Honestly, now that racing in the transfer is just for a better starting spot when it comes to the C main. As one driver, Kyle Hubbard, almost loses it off the back straightaway. Damon McDonald has been leading since the outset. He is going to lead it back to the checkered flag, and Damon McDonald is going to advance his way into the C main along with Pedder, Paget, and Kremer from the E to the C. Can he keep the run going?
And so what a performance from Damon McDonald as well, just to keep his composure through all of that. Let's take a look at the results for the D main here today.
Just mentioned those 4 advancing into the C main, those top 4. Oh, by the way, fastest lap from Kremer as well. Goes from the E to the D, now to the C. as 13 drivers started that one. 9 more are going home, and they can exit the sim wondering what if to make it into the feature. Still waiting on the session to swap over to the C main. There it goes, and we are now ready to take a look at your starting grid. Miles Jansen on the pole. Cody Hillman going to start to his outside. Dakota Osborne, Larry Moody on row 2. Scott Withers and Scott Thomason going to be rounding out the top 6 starting positions. 13 again on the grid here. Andrew Stables, Spencer Putney going to be on row 4. Blaine Baxter rounds out the 9 drivers that are starting their first consolation race. Damon McDonald, your winner from the D main, will be starting 10th. Tracy Petter, Ryan Paget, and Jeff Kremer, the rest of your 4 transferees from the D main, are ready for the C main. Kremer has an opportunity to work his way into the B main. Can he keep the run going all the way to the feature? This is going to be his real test, Arjuna. The drivers are getting faster. The races are getting longer. The drivers, I think they're getting just a little bit more desperate. That last main that we saw with those 2 cautions, that was the most cautions we have seen in a session so far tonight.
And I think by the time we get to that main event, expect a few more of those interruptions at the end of the day. It's going to be that sort of stop and start sort of race, and up towards the front, it's where you want to be, staying out of trouble. And again, just a reminder, we're adding laps every time that we go. So if there's drivers that are less comfortable the longer these races go, you know, these are intense races as well, Josh. It's definitely a factor to think about.
And these races are going to just keep getting intense. I mean, you think about the feature, 35 laps around the Knoxville Raceway. Those qualifying times were in the mid-14s. That last race that we saw, lap times starting to just ever so slightly creep their way up. Those heat races took about 2.5 minutes on the stopwatch. So if you times that by the amount of times it takes for 35 laps, not including yellows, it seems pretty quick. Until you remember you're wrangling 410 horsepower with the lowest power to weight ratio you can even ponder in your mind around a racetrack just under a mile long.
Right, so after this, just one more race to figure out who makes it into the main event. For 4 drivers a chance to move forward. Everyone else is going to be watching from the sidelines. Miles Jansen, Cody Hillman on the front row, and get the racing underway. 14 laps of action, side by side for 2nd and 3rd. Your race leader, couple of car lengths clear, and scampering away down the back straightaway.
Oh, contact made, loose in the middle goes the number 52. Keeps it straight. We're still 3 wide off of 4. 1 car wheeling after contact with the outside wall. Ryan Paget is up and into the wall. He's flipping in 1 and 2. No yellow flag yet. Not going to come out. Battle for the transfer is right now with that driver that is in the wall and wheeling again. Withers from the transfer to out of the race.
And he hits Jeff Kremer on the way through, and while the caution doesn't fly, 4 now watching on from pit lane, unfortunately. How many will we end this race with? Just a thing to keep in mind, finally a very delayed caution slow things down for the first time in the C main.
A delayed caution for I'm not entirely sure what. If that was a delayed caution for the drivers that were up and over, I think Jeff Kremer in his run trying to go all the way through ended up in an incident. He ended up around in 1. But here's the incident with the transfer driver, Scott Withers. He was running in 4th when the Aussie hit the wall off turn 4, sent the car into a wheelie, and he just lost control of that thing. So easy to do, and he unfortunately ended up losing control and ended up and over and out of this race. Actually getting collected in that, you saw Jeff Kremer in the 11, and it seemed like the turned around number 11, the very brief moment that he took going backwards in turn 1 was what ended up triggering that automatic iRacing caution. So that is why we are back behind the iRacing official pace truck.
So back behind the pace truck, single file restart to get the racing back underway when we are ready to do so. And caution laps do not count. You're joining us for the first time, watching dirt racing for the first time. Well, A, welcome. B, these are wing sprint cars, and iRacing's got a whole bunch of dirt cars that you can try. The final of our iRacing special events this year is the iRacing Chili Bowl. Those have no wings. They are called dirt midgets. They are very crazy, often driving just on the right rear tire, and inside at the Tulsa Expo Center. Josh, it's one of my favorite special events of the year.
And it's one of the few dirt racing ones that we get every year, Arjuna. Of course, we get a lot of endurance racing. We get our fair share of NASCAR iRacing Series competition, but we get Crandon, we get the Knoxville Nationals, and we get the Chili Bowl for those fans of dirt racing like myself, like yourself. Just love to see some cars go around racing on the dirt oval of the Knoxville Raceway, and we are back underway. Jansen, Hillman, Osborne, and Putney. Right now, your top four for the transfer. Stables making a move on, or Putney making a move on Stables. This is the battle for the transfer, the 49 with a big send in 3.
And so as we get back underway, back around to the line, I don't expect Miles Jansen to really feel too much pressure. I think it's Cody Hillman that's going to be watching a little bit more behind, thinking about where the spotter's going to send him, where can the defense come as well. And again, as much as there were drivers up high wanting to make that work, when everyone's up high, you've got to do something different. And so down low goes Andrew Stables, trying to crack his way into the top 4.
It's all he needs to do to transfer right now. For anybody that was following the run through the alphabet soup, Kremer is running right now, tail end of this field, not out of the race yet. Ryan Paget is out of the race. And none of the other drivers that had advanced on through from any of our previous consolations are anywhere close to the top of the field right now. So we're looking at drivers who got eliminated from the heats, but did finish high up in their heats, which is why they are so fast around this racetrack.
And those drivers that advance directly from their heats, let's not forget, Josh, they're just waiting and watching to see if they are going to have to fight some of these drivers, who they're going to need to keep an eye on what's happening with the racetrack. Dakota Osborne's down low and trying to do something different, disrupted the Jansen and Hillman 1 and 2 that we'd seen for quite a while since the race got underway. A little bit of a sideways step there for Jansen as we come across the line to finish lap number 9. 5 laps to run. Can Andrew Stables make something happen? Everyone behind. A little bit too far for them to try and close the gap.
Well, I don't know if Andrew Stables made something happen, but he did just put the front wing to the back wing of the number 25 of Spencer Putney. Put the number 49 back into the transfer. So, okay, that just opened the door for the 25 of Putney. You can see in that black and yellow sprint car trying to chase down for the transfer. He right now has the door open wide for him because the 49 put the wing to the back bumper of the number 25 to move him out of the groove. Putney can do whatever he wants now to try and go for this spot. He attempts a slider, can't do it, back to the cushion with 2 to go.
Time winding down, another great look off the rear shot. See the helmet move around as the driver focuses on where they're trying to send the car. Andrew Stables sees a bit of a bobble from Cody Hillman in front of him, but ultimately still with a couple of car lengths behind. He's not going to try and force anything right now. They are 1 race away from making it to the main event as the white flag flies. And for Miles Jansen, after leading us to the green 13 laps ago, the 14th lap comes to an end. He'll start towards the back of the B main, but he's got a shot. Drag race to the line. No change, unfortunately. Andrew Stables just holds on.
That was, I don't think that was a twitch that we saw off of turn 4 from the 25 of Putney. I think, Arjuna, that was, I don't care what happens, I want this spot, and it did not happen.
And so as we take a look again at the results with the front 4 moving forward, that margin between 4th and 5th, 0.5 of a second, if that. You make one small different decision, it could be a very different outcome at the end of the day. We say goodbye to the rest of the drivers, unfortunately, but for one final time, let's get ready in the alphabet soup to go racing. Chad Griggs, Aiden Price on the front row with Matthew Croak and Matthew Gowans alongside on row number 2. It'll be Connor Dudek and then Jesse DeRosia sharing row 3, with 7th going the way of Jacob Freeman. Craig Dunn is alongside, while Gaetano Papaladaro and Miles Jansen round out the top 10 as we start to get to the those drivers advancing from the previous LCQ. Dakota Osborne, Cody Hillman, saw them fight plenty. Expect that to continue alongside Andrew Stables, Josh, as they try and charge their way from the back.
They've got a lot of work to do, especially as the laps continue to raise. This is 16 laps, just shy of halfway of the feature race. And this is it. This is the last opportunity to qualify for the A main. All of the heat race drivers, they've been waiting now for how long, Arjun? The better part of 20-something minutes as we have gone through this alphabet soup. They're getting antsy to go racing in the feature. These drivers that are in this B main, they know it's their final opportunity. Got to make something happen now, and we've got some pretty fast drivers. Remember Chad Griggs? That was the first story that we had tonight, was that Griggs did not make the move for the transfer. Does he advance into the A main off of this B?
Can you imagine? How cool would that be to have sat around for so long and then finally, when the pressure was on, make it all happen again? And that's what we were talking about, right, with some of the drivers that have seen success, taking Aiden Beerline as the chief example, defending race winner, has finished inside of the front four in every single one of the broadcasted Knoxville Nationals. We've had coverage here on the iRacing Esports Network that has made sure to keep himself where he needs to be at every single opportunity. Well, we've got some drama already. Matthew Gowan's on the outside of row 2, does not grid, so everyone on the outside going to move up one row as a result of that. And now we get ready to go. Putting a prediction up for you, Josh. How many cautions do we see in this final LCQ?
I don't know. It seems like as the laps go up, the amount of cautions go up. But these are the fastest drivers that we have had tonight. So I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot, but it depends on how desperate these drivers get and how not used to this track state they are.
It's changed, that's for sure. 16 laps for them to figure it out, though. And so Chad Griggs gets us underway with Price and Crope instantly, wheel to wheel. A bit of a shove there from Price, trying to force Griggs down the back straightaway. Top four starting to break away. Chaos behind, two cars spin around.
Is it a yellow? Not yet. Griggs and Price in the battle for the lead. Griggs goes back for another slider in one. Top four, throw a blanket over him. We're 3 wide for a moment for the race lead off 2. But going to the lead goes Griggs again. Or to the lead, I should say, is Croak. Griggs in second, Price in third. Move Connor Dudek to fourth. And the top 4 racing amongst themselves right now. You got to go back a half second, Arjuna, to find 5th place.
It's kind of what they want, but if a caution is to fly, instantly those behind could be brought into the fight. Matthew Croak, though, is going to fight his way and slice his way to the race lead. Down low, blocks Aiden Price from now trying to hug that berm down low. It does seem as though as much as the track is slicked up, both low and high working equally at this time.
And right now, you can really go wherever you want. You can make those moves like we're seeing now in that battle for third. Up to the cushion goes Chad Griggs again. Dudek looking for that third position, looking for slightly better, one position better starting spot in the A main. Craig Dunn now the driver that is going to try and chase down for the transfer. But that half-second gap I mentioned earlier is staying relatively the same as we go on board with the Aussie.
You called it out earlier. Watch the hands at work here as they navigate their way through the corner, all the way to the inside for Craig Dunn. And with the margin behind, he can afford to do that. Let's not forget, he can afford to experiment just a little bit more and to try and find some momentum, slingshot his way on forward. Next time by, officially halfway done with this race. And it's been quite clean, at least most things considered. Not going to say it's going to stay this way all the way to the very end. At the end of the day, 4 move forward, the rest we say goodbye to.
And who are we going to be saying goodbye to is the question, because Craig Dunn has caught up. That side-by-side battling between Dudek and Griggs has caught to themselves as here comes Dunn looking to the inside of Griggs. Battle for the lead between Price and Croc goes the way of Price. Here's the battle for the transfer. Griggs up top, Dunn down low, off turn 4. Griggs with the run, but at the line, Dunn goes into the transfer spot, takes the defensive line in 1. 7 laps to go, and we've got a battle for the 4th place brewing.
It's going to be interesting all the way to the very end. Those behind, by the way, still keeping each other close, but it's not a fight to really focus on outside of the risk of the caution. That's the one thing that could sprinkle into all of these drivers' minds. But Craig Dunn right on the cusp, though. Chad Griggs has got some work to do as he rips the high line and tries to make something different happen as we wind down these laps. And Josh, let's not forget, 57 contenders went into this top split. Only 22 of them get a chance in the main event.
Got this field in more than half as we go on board with Griggs. He's losing touch now of those transfer battles. He needs Craig Dunn and Matthew Croak to start fighting in front of him. But I can't help but think back to heat race number 1, the first heat race of the night, Arjuna. What was one of the first things we talked about out of that heat? The main takeaway was what Griggs didn't do, was that he wasn't aggressive enough to get into the transfer. That might hurt him now, not making the A-main if he stays in 5th and is still losing ground.
And it sounds like a lot of time, 35 laps in the main event, but it will fly past even with the cautions that we have. So something else that I guess, we're going to see a bit more of, Josh, is that aggression from those at the back. It's going to be something that those at the front are being aware of. But here we go. Couple more laps to run in this B-main. Aiden Price well and truly clear at the front of the field. And so with the white flag finally being flown, Chad Griggs has dropped 1 full second back. Unfortunately, it is not to be. Starting from the front of this final B-main, he drops out of contention. Moving forward, though, Aiden Price, Connor Dudek, Matthew Croak, and Craig Dunn. They've survived the alphabet soup, and now they've still got some work to do here at the 2024 iRacing Knoxville Nationals.
It's just the beginning, Arjuna, for those 4 drivers that advanced their way into the A-main. Price, Dudek, Croak, Dunn advance on through to the feature race. We have successfully built our 22 drivers. Arjuna, they're going to take a second to get warmed up on this racetrack, get warmed up with the track state that we have got on the track right now. But what a race that we are getting ready to see for the A-main.
And so, like we were saying at the start of the night, this is that chance for those that qualified from the heats, head back out onto track, figure out what it feels like, and if they want, make some quick adjustments to their setups. I will say, looking from up above, though, has there been a track reset?
Not one officially in the sim. It could be a marble cleanup, could be something along those lines, but the session was carried over from the B-main according to the sim. Still have a little bit of, still have all of those same grooves starting to develop, but I also think, Arjuna, that you're going to see that inside line not be as dominant. You're going to see that cushion really work its way through, but we've been mentioning it all night. If you're running the cushion, that's fine. Running the cushion for speed, that's fine. The driver in front of you is running the cushion. You're not going to pass them. You have to run where they're not. You have to be fast where they are not. That is what the winner of this race tonight, the winner of the feature tonight, Arjuna, in my opinion, is going to be the best at. It's going to be running fast where the other people aren't.
Well, we've got the main event still yet to come. We'll step aside for a quick break here on the iRacing Esports Network. Don't go anywhere, though. A preview of what's to come in this warm-up session. We're ready to go for the 2024 iRacing Knoxville Nationals.
Wins Pocono and wins his way to the playoffs. Bobby Zelensky gonna double down in 2024. He goes back-to-back at the Chicago Street Course. He's headed back to the championship for Steven Wilson, winner at Texas Motor Speedway. Parker White wins at Phoenix and will fight for an eNASCAR championship in 2024.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, the time has come. The sun has set. The lights are now paving the way for the drivers looking to challenge the 2024 iRacing Knoxville Nationals. We've made our way to the sprint car capital of the world for the virtual version of the granddaddy of them all, our junior Kanki party, alongside of Josh Lee, ready to call this main event. And Josh, it's been an interesting night to get to this point so far. Over an hour's worth of racing, a condensed format as well. But now 35 laps, caution laps not counting, stand between us and finding out who wins this historic event.
And who can etch themselves into the iRacing special events win list for 2024. Looking at the hot laps right now, a lot of those drivers that we said were fast are continuing to be fast. But I mentioned how close those qualifying times were, Arjuna, in the mid-14s all the way through. The best lap time right now on the racetrack, set by Gunnar Harris, 16.9. That is how much speed this track has lost. That is how difficult this track has become with all of that blue groove developing into these corners. The challenge that these drivers have in the feature on this track, completely different than what they had when we began the alphabet soup and the heats.
And that's what makes this so intriguing, right? Is now who of those drivers that's been waiting on the outside, just watching on after the heat, who can dial in their car the quickest, who can perform with the lights shining brightest. Ready to rumble, though, with the warm-up session officially in the books. We've got previous winners here left to play. Are we going to get our first repeat winner of the 2024 iRacing Knoxville Nationals, or will it be a fourth different winner in as many years? Gunnar Harris is going to try and become the first double champion. He's got Tanner Petit alongside with Logan Rumsey and then Aiden Beerline, another former king and the defending king, rounding out row number 2. Cameron Pritchard, former World Championship competitor, is alongside of Tyler Shell, the initial winner of this race back in 2021. Noah Carpenter, John Helms, and then Aiden Forster and Kenny Hoffman make up the rest of the top 10. JD Brown, some work to do for him, back in 11th position with Ayrton Smith for company in the green, blue, and red machine. Peyton Burton, Matthew Powell, Clayton Davies, and then Lachlan Mead, alongside Jesse Dacus and Darcy Walker, the 18 drivers that advanced directly from the heats. While for Aiden Price, Connor Dudek, Matthew Croak, and for Craig Dunn, Josh, a chance for them to try and fight their way forward after surviving the alphabet soup.
They were able to survive, and now as 22 cars line up behind the official iRacing pace truck, ready to get the feature race underway. All those heats, all those consolations. Time not to think about that, but to think about the task at hand. It is winning the Knoxville Nationals. You're going to see some calamity. You're going to see some drama. You're going to see some aggressive moves. It is how do you survive and how do you be the aggressor. Arjuna, you wanted the best. You've got them to abreast. They're often imitated, but they are never duplicated. I personally think this might be the greatest show on iRacing, and it's the Knoxville Nationals.
You've been waiting to chuck that one in, haven't you?
I had to try. I had to go for it.
Did you have it written down as well?
No, I did not. Off the dome. That is impressed. How much Dirt Vision I watch on a regular basis.
Impressed is all I will say. Not going to get a four-wide salute to kick things off, but the lights are off on the pace car. We are moments away from getting the action underway. And I tell you what, this is one of those events that really does embody what the iRacing special events are all about. If you've never really seen these cars and this race before, iRacing's your chance to jump in and to experience what it is all about. I can get my words out there. And so just a reminder, still got plenty more special events to come for the rest of the year. iRacing.com to learn more. iRacing.com/special-events if you want to see what the calendar has in store for us. More dirt to come, yes, but for now, eyes to the front and eyes to the flag as foot to the floor. We're racing for the 2024 iRacing Knoxville Nationals, and Gunnar Harris gets a great launch, leaves Tanner Petit and Aiden Bierlein in his dust as we set off to the back straightaway.
Don't have to talk about a transfer. Don't have to look at a transfer. It is all up front and all through the field. Rumsey making moves, trying to get by Bierlein. Rumsey runs the bottom. Bierlein with a big hunk of speed as he goes into turn number 1 off the cushion. He goes back up top and back upstairs, going for the spot in second place. Fireworks still going off of the back straightaway as they enter back into turn 3.
Hey, I'm not complaining. Fireworks hopefully on track as well for the race lead as we start to settle into a bit of a rhythm here. And all 22 of the drivers within around 3.5 seconds of the leader still. There will get to be a point if we have a long enough green flag run that traffic will be a factor. It's not going to be the case for the time being. Wheel to wheel for second, wheel to wheel for fourth as well, all as Gunnar Harris pulls away.
Harris trying to look in his rearview mirror and see nobody as Bierlein and Petit try and fight for second. Petit on the bottom. That's that all black sprint car on the inside. Bierlein in his normal red and black machine up top. He rides the cushion, bounces off the cushion, side by side for second. Bierlein all up top, Petit all down low.
It's a great little fight. Unfortunately, letting your leader run away, albeit not for much longer, as the first caution of the main event flies. I think it's Lachlan Mead, Craig Dunn that have come together potentially. Craig Dunn straight back to pit lane as well. Lachlan Mead's going to join him too. And so 22 becomes 20. 5 laps complete here in the main event.
Trying to honestly figure out what I just witnessed as I went back very quick to grab a look before we see the replay. Here's the replay. Lachlan Mead, Craig Dunn. There's a sprint car that was down on the apron and ended up on the racetrack in turn 1. Is that what you see the same thing, Arjuna?
I'm seeing what you're seeing.
Okay, I'm just making sure. That is, don't send that clip to Connery Maddock. He would be... He would be up in arms right now over that rejoin.
Oh, yeah, well, it's one of those things that you don't necessarily expect, right? Oh, that was a bit out of nowhere. Anyway, so it means we slow things down, but it means we'll get a restart, and we'll be single file on this restart as well. So take another look at it from here. Clayton Davies, what happened to him in the number 2?
Oh, he got hit. Okay, there's the part of the replay that we didn't see. It was Davies getting hit. He made wheel-to-wheel contact with the sprint car on top of him, and that sent him to the bottom, and he did not have a lot of control over that sprint car. Okay, especially from Clayton Davies. I didn't realize it was him, one of my really good friends down under. I didn't realize it was him before I made all those comments. So Clayton, I apologize. You did not have a lot of control over that 410. I feel like I'm going to get a message on Facebook post-race.
It's hashtag all Josh Lee's fault.
I feel like it is. I'm probably going to... there's a chance I might see him in Sydney when I'm there in 2 weeks as well. That might make it a little bit more awkward.
Tell you what, that sounds like a blast. Monster Jam Down Under. We got to come up
last time. He went. I got him and his folks some tickets. Got to meet him at the event, and he did thoroughly enjoy himself down under there at Monster Jam. Glad to be going back this year.
Now, are you going to the SCG?
No, I don't believe I am. No.
So what stadium arena is... Oh, never mind. We'll get back to that later. Cause pace trucks off and away. We're racing once again. 5 laps complete. 30 to go. Gunnar Harris guns the throttle. Instantly pulls out about 6 car lengths as the battle for second resumes. Up from above, watch the action and watch the couple of different lines being run. Aiden Bierlein holds on for the time being, but Tanner Petit... What's he going to be able to do as Logan Rumsey starts to close on his rear bumper? I think we've lost Josh Lee, the joys of technical issues. Let's jump on board with Tyler Schell. Let's turn up the sound of the engines. They rip the berm down low, and Tyler Schell, 2021 iRacing Knoxville National champ, sees the action up front, all unfolding. Gunnar Harris is finally challenged. Aiden Beerline rips the outside line, and I tell you what, we've got all three of the previous race winners up inside of the front five. We might very well get a first repeat winner of the event, Josh.
And it very well could be Logan Rumsey, as he is side by side with Tanner Petit right now for third place. Here's the move back for the lead. Harris runs the low line. Beerline runs up top. This is classic sprint car racing, classic dirt oval racing. Run where they aren't. He goes back up to the cushion this time. Harris in 1 and 2, trying to get a run on Beerline that he can take down low. He looks low in 3 and 4, goes for a bit of a de facto slider. Not going to be enough to even get side by side. He has to try and regroup, get back on offense to try and get the slider again.
So it's taken us about 8 laps or so after the restart to get half a lap clear of the traffic. It means another 8 laps or so, hypothetically, before we really start to see your leaders carving their way through some of those, still duking it out 3 and 4 wide at the tail end of the pack. I saw JD Brown had lost a whole bunch of positions. Let's check in, though. Tail end of the top 10. Noah Carpenter on the back of John Helms, with Kenny Hoffman, Ayrton Smith directly behind.
Battles everywhere on this racetrack right now, as we've seen one yellow flag, but also very quickly reaching halfway done with this feature. Time estimate about 6 minutes before we are going to throw the checkered flag, before we are going to crown the 2024 Knoxville Nationals champion. And further back in this field, you see the battle with the number 9 machine of Noah Carpenter for P7. Carpenter ripping the cushion again, looking to get a run on John Helms into the corner. He moves it back to the inside line. There's a very quick peek at that battle for the lead. No battle yet, still 4/10 separating the top 2.
And they're pulling away from those behind, so ideal if they're hoping for a green flag run that will see them enter traffic and then really start to intensify their battling, because that is going to be a lot of fun. Around the outside, can Kenny Hoffman make that work? Answer is no, at least not for the time being, as we close in on the halfway mark of this race. Fascinating start to this main event. Josh, just the one caution so far.
Just the one yellow flag as we reach halfway, put halfway behind us, and Beerline still with a pretty commanding lead. This is the battle right now. Down in P11, Jesse Dacus in that silver and yellow number 32, Cameron Pritchard in the iRacing colors on the inside in the number 46. There's the differentiation in lines, running that middle line, I think, right now, as we see Ayrton Smith and Kenny Hoffman. Hoffman with a slider to the inside. I think running the middle is a very interesting choice. That is where the most blue groove is. That is where there's the least amount of moisture, the least amount of grip in this racetrack. We're seeing a lot of very down low. We're seeing a lot of very up top, not seeing a whole lot of middle for that reason. Didn't seem to be hurting a whole lot for Ayrton Smith, but he does go back to the cushion that time to get a run on Kenny Hoffman and get back to P8.
And so 15 laps left to go. Again, a reminder, top 2 close, not fighting for the lead just yet. You can see who's been fighting their way forward. Some of those drivers that, of course, made their way from the LCQs, those consolation races, done an admirable job of not just advancing, but then moving forward in this main event as well. Likes of Ayrton Smith, though, just carving their way forward after starting towards the back of those that advanced directly from the heat races. So, Josh, as the minutes tick away, less than 4 left to go. Gunnar Harris is running out of time, isn't he, to try and challenge for this win?
Running out of time is correct. You go on board with Beerline, facing right out the back. Look at how much movement in that virtual driver, how much movement in those virtual hands. Trust me, there are real world hands that are going crazy on the steering wheel right now to try and keep that car pointed the right direction and keep that car going fast. Now we transfer over to Gunnar Harris. Back to the cushion goes the number 10, riding the cushion again. He got a big run that last time by. Can he get another run past the stripe? Slider attempt, side by side for the moment. Not gonna keep the run going off 2.
Can tell he's trying, though, that is for sure. He's gonna have to now set this up once again, gonna build his momentum, and if anything, he's gonna have to try, maybe if his car is working better up high, peel Aiden Beerline away from the wall where he looks so comfortable, so content to sit for the time being. And these two, the class of the field as it stands right now. 10 laps left to go, and they've got almost 4 seconds over the rest. They're 3 wide behind. We might start to see some traffic if we continue to stay green. we are really in for a blockbuster finish up and down through the field.
Now inside of 9 to go, there is everybody in the mid-pack. This is 5th on back and all the way through to about P10 that are all trying to figure themselves out. But the battle for the lead just went back to side by side. That was Gunnar Harris attempting another slider. He stays to the bottom lane this time, gets a nose in front of Beerline. He gets the momentum going again, back to the bottom for the number 10. It's not enough to get that move completed, but he's got the speed. I see what Harris is trying to do. He's running where Beerline isn't. Side by side for the race lead in 2.
And so here we go. He gets a good run off the corner, trying to wash up and pinch Beerline on the entry to turn 3. Up high and down low. 2 contrasting lines, but speed being built. Finally, Gunnar Harris leads at the stripe, but it's by the narrowest of margins. Beerline continues to rip as high to the wall as he can, but surely he's got to try and do something different. Officially, new race leader Gunnar Harris with 5 to go.
It's your 2 reigning champs going side by side and battling in Knoxville. At the line, 5 to go, and we've got a yellow. That's Noah Carpenter without a top wing, and we're gonna rack him up again.
And that changes everything. We'll restart with 5 to go, and Gunnar Harris will control the restart. He led at the time of the caution. Aiden Beerline going to start in 2nd in his quest to try and go back-to-back.
We'll see the replay in a moment for Noah Carpenter in the 9. It was another instance, Arjuna, flying too close to the sun. He goes down to the bottom, washes up to the cushion, uses the cushion to try and catch himself, and it did not. Rode it, and then hard contact from behind as well in that number 31 machine. But we will re-rack with that small incident, single, maybe dual car, depending on how much damage that number 31 gathered off of that. But nonetheless, a restart, a single file restart again for those top 2. Beerline's been running the cushion. It's been all Gunnar Harris on the inside line. Do they try something different? They will start on that outside line. They'll start by the cushion. Naturally, in a single file restart on these ovals, you want to start as far up to the wall as you can because it's legal to pass on the right side on the restart before the start finish line. It is not legal to pass on the left side. So you want to be as close to the wall as you can. Does that make Gunnar Harris run the cushion? Does that make Aiden Beerline go down low to try and send a slider in? This is going to open it up for the strategy of which line they are going to run.
I'm looking forward to this one, and I think we're going to be in for a bit of a blockbuster. Might just be between those 2 at the very front. If Logan Rumsey, Tanner Petit, Tyler Schell, Ayrton Smith, if they can't avoid tripping over one another. This, though, might be the most important restart of the race. Get yourself punched onto the throttle, squared up, and across the line as quickly as you can. 5 laps left to go in the granddaddy of them all, the iRacing 2024 Knoxville Nationals. And as we break the timing line, 5/10 the margin between Gunnar Harris and Aiden Beerline, on board with 2nd as he tries to close down the gap.
That was a great restart for Harris and a not great restart for Beerline. Harris leads, 4 laps to go. It is all out front for Beerline. He runs the cushion again, right rear tire, right up against the wall. But the run on the bottom for Gunnar Harris might be too good. Beerline with a little bit of a mistake in 3. He gets out of the gas as they go out of turn 4.
A little bit cattywampus, holds on to it though, as behind Tyler Schell, Logan Rumsey, wheel to wheel for a moment, allows Tanner Petit to be brought into the mix. So heading into the closing stages, not quite at the very end of this race. This is why these drivers are here. The best that iRacing has to offer. 2 laps left to go.
Oh, loose in the back. They're wrecking. Does this bring out a yellow? Around in 1. No yellow flag yet. Harris still leads. If he gets to the white flag, we're done, but we're not. The yellow flag is out. It's going to be a 1-lap shootout, Arjuna, for the race win.
So I thought the caution was going to fly right off the corner. Instead, it takes a beat more, but a 1-lap shootout. 3 previous champions inside of the top 4. Don't blink, don't go anywhere. Josh, who's at the top of your mind for coming out on top in this one? Let's be honest, it doesn't even matter what happened on the replay. It comes down to this 1 more lap.
it's all going to come down to the restart. I mean, he's going to have turn 1 and 2 is going to be the setup for 3 and 4, and it's going to be the setup for Beerline. It's going to be another great restart. Obviously, Gunnar Harris in the 10 has control over the restart. He can go whenever the iRacing pace truck pulls into the pit lane or whenever that green flag comes out. Anywhere in between that is fair game. So he can go and control that restart on his own. If he gets the same restart that he did, I don't know if Beerline's going to have enough. He's going to need to set up 1 and 2 however he can to get a good slider into 3. But that last time by through 3 and 4, he got cattywampus. We saw him run too close to the cushion. Can Beerline run the cushion enough to get the run?
No chance to make any change, really. I mean, at this point, I don't think there's much adjustment in the wing they've got left in their setups to move around, but maybe an adjustment from behind the wheel, an adjustment in attitude as well. I don't even think it's fair to ask you for a prediction here, but Josh, who wins this one?
It's all going to come down to that run, and I think you can flip a coin in between Harris and Beerline right now to determine who you think is going to win this one, because there's ways that Harris can win it. There's a lot of ways that Beerline can win it. There's ways that they both can lose it as well. But with Beerline running the cushion, if he tries to do that again, you want to know why he got so cattywampus there, Arjuna? As we got a very quick look at what happened to 13. Ends up and over in turn 1, sideways, and ends up with the yellow flag. Beerline's been running the cushion, but that cushion's starting to go away. So many drivers running the cushion, it stops packing the dirt on the wall, starts getting rid of the dirt, kicking it back into the racetrack. That cushion is starting to go away. Is it gone already? It's 1 lap to go, Arjuna. This is it for Knoxville.
And it's the previous 2 champions. Let's find out who wins the 2024 iRacing Knoxville Nationals. It's a great jump from Gunnar Harris. Can Aiden Beerline close? He'll have 1 desperation send into turn 3. Swings the car out wide. The door's open for Logan Rumsey. All as up front, it's Gunnar Harris, the first double champion in the iRacing Knoxville Nationals. He did it in 2022. He does it in 2024 as well.
And Arjuna, more than that, how about the hat trick? Fastest in qualifying, wins his heat on the pole for the feature, and wins the feature. Tonight is all about that 10. It's all about Gunnar Harris, and he becomes the first ever 2-time iRacing Knoxville Nationals champion. Burn this thing down, celebrate with the fireworks.
It's the Gunnar Harris show here today. A well-earned victory lap around the Knoxville Raceway. And you assume that he'll return in 2025 full of confidence and looking to try and go back-to-back. For Aiden Beerline, it's half a second that separates him from that chance of becoming Mr. Back-to-back here. And give a shout-out as well to Tyler Schell, another champion inside of the top 4. He'll make his way to victory lane. Will Gunnar Harris? Not sure we'll get a chance to catch up with him. I can promise you one thing, as he burns it down, not just on track, but in victory lane as well. A driver at the top of his form, a driver at the top of his ability as well. Great parking job as well there. You can tell he's done this once or twice before. Let's take a look at the race results. Let's figure out where everyone finished after the sea of madness that was this great race. Gunnar Harris, pole position, won his heat and won the main event. It was not as easy as that makes it sound. Aiden Beerline finishes second with Logan Rumsey, Tyler Schell, and John Helms rounding out the front 5. Tanner Petit drops down from where he started, a second to 6th, unfortunately, in this main event with Kenny Hoffman, JD Brown, and then the biggest mover of the race, Connor Dudek, from the LCQ races up inside of the top 10. Just in front as well of Darcy Walker, with Matthew Powell down in 11th. Aiden Price is scored 12th with Clayton Davies. A neck-and-neck finish in some ways with Peyton Burton, at least on my timing screen, with Matthew Pritchard, or Cameron Pritchard I should say, even though they're scored 1 lap down there. Not quite sure how that all works out. Ayrton Smith, Jesse Dacus, Noah Carpenter, and then Aiden Forster. We get into those that experience the lows that Knoxville has to offer, alongside Lachlan Mead and Craig Dunn. Unfortunate DNFs here today. I was lying a little bit when I said, I'm not sure if we're going to get a chance to chat with anyone. I do see Gunnar Harris is waiting for an interview, but he's currently muted. I'm not quite sure if he's ready, but I tell you what, Josh, if you're ready to chat to the winner, Shall we see if he's ready to chat to you?
I think we should see if he is ready to be pulled up into the broadcast booth and talk a bit. Gunnar, congratulations. You're the first ever two-time Knoxville Nationals champion on iRacing. Before we get into anything that happened in the feature, what are the emotions right now? The top step of sprint car racing on iRacing in the special event calendar, and you're right here.
Pretty stoked. I don't know, I won the first time, and I honestly kind of thought that was a fluke. The cars are a whole lot different now, and I don't know, man, the hardest races to win, I think, are on the bottom like that. And the first prelim we ran on Monday, I didn't even make the show. I got wrecked. So the second night, me and Aiden had pretty much the identical race, just like this. It was just me and him out front, and I don't know, I was running the bottom in that race. I was able to move up before he got me, and then tonight I was running down low, and he obviously passed me. I thought I'd be okay down there. The top was so rough, and he was obviously running just a little bit under it, and I didn't. Once he got by me, he was just a whole lot faster, so I really had to search around, and then I was running the bottom in 1 and 2, and the top in 3 and 4, and then I just went bottom, and that was definitely one of the hardest races I've had to win. It was just so hard to stay consistent down there.
Running the bottom against Aiden Beerline, obviously he was ripping the cushion. You ended up ripping the cushion a couple of times. Was it the decision to run down low with Beerline being so good on the cushion? Was it him running the cushion? Was it trying to find something different to try and get by him? Or was it just comfortability on the bottom line? I know the bottom line at Knoxville is somewhat favored a couple of times, especially early on, than the top lane.
I don't know. I mean, when you get passed by somebody in a different line, you obviously got to move up and try it. And I was junking 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, I was able to actually. There was some moisture on the entry on top, and so obviously that's why 3 and 4 was a little bit faster. And 1 and 2, I'm not. Last night in the prelim, I tried it, and I was able to cut down and catch a little moisture patch across the center. But tonight that wasn't there. The track was a whole lot different tonight. So. Yeah, once he moved up, I mean, that's usually where he wins his races, is up top. And I mean, he's obviously a pro driver. A lot of these guys in here are pros, and you know, just to race against, you know, Rumsey and Pettit and him and all those guys is cool, and to beat him's even better. So no, but him just running up top like that, I had to move up, and I knew I was really set up for the bottom, and with my wing and all that, so I just knew if I could. The bottom had been good all week, and I won 2 years ago on the bottom, so the bottom's always really good here if the top gets too far around or too, you know, treacherous like it was there. So my car was just better for the bottom than it was the top. I was able to just hold my pace, especially in 3 and 4. That's why I didn't really do anything different until, you know, I wasn't making any ground. I was holding pace in 3 and 4, and I was gaining in 1 and 2, but it just got to a point where we were so you know, we were so equal in lap times that I just had to do something else. So that's why I went bottom, and that was just super hard that was super hard to stay consistent down there, and luckily I was able to pull it off.
Now you add another feather to your cap, another addition to your resume as a two-time iRacing Knoxville Nationals champion. What's next for you in these iRacing 410 sprint cars? Are we going to be seeing more of you around on the broadcast in the next, hopefully, couple of years to come?
Yeah, you know, I'm not too sure this, you know, I don't know if sim racing is going to be forever. And honestly, I've done it so much, and I like late models too. And I've always, you know, I've been on like 2 or 3 teams over like 4 years I've been on here. And I don't know, the team that I was with pretty much just went away, so I kind of went on my own, and then I got with another setup shop, and now I'm just doing it all by myself. So I'm not too sure. I know Pro Series is coming up. I'm not too sure what that's going to look like. I know when you make it in, that's quite a bit of commitment there, and so I'm just not sure yet. Honestly, I'm just trying to do it for fun.
Well, you've got the talent to stay. I will say that. Congratulations on your second iRacing Knoxville Nationals victory. Go get the celebration started. Super Session win tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you guys for broadcasting.
That was Gunnar Harris from Victory Lane, your winner tonight in the iRacing Knoxville Nationals. Arjuno, you mentioned it a lot, the second time that he has won this and the only driver to win multiple of the iRacing Knoxville Nationals. Broadcasted Super Sessions, and coming up very soon for the iRacing special event calendar. It's about as different as you can get from 410 sprint cars at Knoxville. It's the Bathurst 1000, and it is those V8 supercars going racing around then, but we still have Petit Le Mans. We've got the SCCA runoffs, Fuji 8 hours, the Winter Derby, before we get back to the dirt at the Chili Bowl. But this 2024 iRacing special event calendar has already been exciting. We've already seen exciting finishes, exciting races, and we still have plenty more to come.
And, you know, I look at all of this, and just a reminder, you can try it all on iRacing. You can sling some dirt, you can do some 24-hour endurance races in the rain, or you've got plenty of NASCAR action as well. A little bit of everything for everybody, an opportunity for you to step out of your comfort zone. And so we hope that you'll join us for the rest of the iRacing special event calendar, all roads leading, of course, back to the Tulsa Expo Center and the Chili Bowl. Time to wrap things up, though, here from Knoxville. For our team behind the scenes, Hugo Luis controlling all the action, Josh Lee alongside myself, Arjuna Kanki. Thanks for joining us for what's been a barn burner of a race. Great to be back here for the 2024 iRacing Knoxville Nationals, as it's Gunnar Smith writing history, the first double winner of the event.
Wins Pocono and wins his way to the playoffs. Bobby Zelensky gonna double down in 2024. He goes back-to-back at the Chicago Street Course. He's headed back to the championship for Steven Wilson, winner at Texas Motor Speedway. Parker White wins at Phoenix and will fight for an eNASCAR championship in 2024.